What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Fury here, and for today I have a Servant review video for you guys. It's going to be an interesting one because we do have a new Servant in the game, Golem, as well as a Servant upgrade to the aura system called the Ulticore crystals, which allows for additional depth to be added into the game. And it's going to be wild because a lot of players are going to be able to utilize more Servants and create depth with how their abilities and their auras will allow them to impact team strategies in the future. It's going to be a bit daunting though, because earning these crystals is not going to be something anyone can do quickly. So stay tuned because we're starting now.
I wanna be immortal, like a god in the sky. I wanna be a silk flower.
So here we are on the main account. It's going to be an interesting breakdown. I have a list here of just some rankings I did here quickly based on my experience and what I've seen. All these pets have different categories, but with the new upgrade system, a few non-meta servants that we didn't really see much of will have a chance to step up. Although right now it still seems like Deerling is the go-to unit for late game PvP meta, as well as some PvE game mode types. But we do have a nice long list here. Golem is the newest pet to be added into the array. I'll be getting to him last so that we can at least go through a bit of our history here. You know, all these pets have been very wonderful companions throughout our entire journey in GXP2. And it's very exciting to see how they've come and what Yuki has planned for them in the future thanks to these new Ulticores. So let's get into it, starting here with Deerling. I'll look at the maximum potentials here for him in the meantime. Deerling has been a very wonderful servant to look forward to building, especially for your endgame team. He is fantastic for endgame PvP meta, especially with how tanky we've become using the Phylums, Vivians, even Kratos, Fenrir, you name it. Allowing for a bunch of healing, 20% of the allies' HP, and increases their armor by 37% and attack by 15%. So this is very nice. Mixed teams will benefit all around. I gave him an awesome score here of defense for 50, offense 2. Doesn't do much damage on its own. Utility 4 because he has a wide array of bonuses with the active skill. Doesn't have any CC abilities, and the healing is just incredible. He has the best healing of all the servants right now. The auras here as well. All servants will give HP and attack, some more than others of course. Over here we'll give armor by 25%, making attack-based girls really work to do their damage. Over here it's going to increase the block rate by 20%, which will be very good for Fenrir and other block-based girls to benefit from the Siren Song. And then the final ability for most pets, or all pets, is just going to increase the speed of the team by 60. So this is going to be one that's very important to level up once you're working with any of your servants, and it's going to increase the speed of your team all around. These passives, by the way, all are active at the beginning of the match. The only thing that comes into play is the active skill when the pet is at full energy. Keep that in mind. Over here, Hunter is going to be every new player's best friend. Usually it is always recommended that Hunter becomes your first servant that you try to level up, just because he's good all around for carrying your team as you start leveling up characters and graduating, awakening, liberating, for example. And in this case, he does a lot of DLT damage over time. Bleed will be his go-to, doing bleed damage for 3 rounds and granting allies for random 80 extra% damage on targets that are bleeding. This is going to be very nice, especially for anyone in early mid-game. Here your hunter will allow your team and your carry to do more damage. If you've got a rogue, she's going to be doing fantastic, especially. So over here it's very similar. This one will do a little bit more attack than Deerling previously, but it's the HP and attack. Over here, increasing armor break by 25%, which, like Deerling, increasing armor. Hunter over here increases the armor break, which is kind of nice, just to penetrate through. The precision here is also very handy, allows for extra damage and reducing the enemy's chance to block your damage. And then the speed by 60 is very nice. Hunter, I still would also recommend as your first go-to pet on new accounts. Over here for his ranking, I gave him 1 for defense because he doesn't really help you tank anything, but his offensive ability is very nice, especially in that early to mid game. Utility being very nice with the armor break and the precision. No CC skills and no healing skills. I should actually score these while I'm at it. I didn't do that just so I could go with them. Deerling would have had a 16 there. And Hunter over here, just because he's fantastic at the start of the game, at the start of any account, he does not scale enough in the end game. And because of our tanky meta, these scores here will give him the overall of 10 points. Moving down over here to Robert, he's got that shield slam, allowing him to have a 36% chance to stun 4 random enemies for 2 rounds, which is awesome CC, and grant 4 random allies 75% extra holy damage. Robert is aggressive. He's going to love working alongside Uriels, Jones, even rogues. So definitely consider him for your team as the go-to PvE damage servant, just because of that extra holy damage. In PvP, the stun comes in handy, but he doesn't really help with defense, hence his score here of 1. Let's move over here. He's got solid attack here and solid HP for the first one, but increases crit chance by 15%. That is awesome, especially for Rogue. You really want her to crit. Robert here is going to really help her do that. Over here, crit damage, again, really benefiting that Rogue. Even Kratos, Uriel, you name it. This crit damage here is just going to really help pump up those numbers. And then the speed. So over here, looking at his scaling, offensive ability maxes out at the 5 points. Utility, incredible. It doesn't give any real defensive bonuses, so that's why I have him at a 4. Holy damage, crit damage, fantastic. CC, this guy is one of the best. 36% chance is already pretty high. And against 4 random targets, you're going to get a very solid and lucky stun off to help your team. He does not heal though, so that's why he's just going to have a 0 there. Robert coming in at 15 points total. It is fantastic to consider him as a 2nd or 3rd pet if you're really focusing on the PvE side to get some big damage numbers, especially if Rogue is your first L5. So let us move on to our best friend here, Serpent. I think he was the 2nd to last newest pet. Came right before Golem, I believe. Right before Flora. Yeah, interesting. Against 4 random enemies, has a 37% chance to apply a random control effect on the targets, and this will last 2 rounds and reduces the target's control immunity by 20% for 2 rounds. So this is going to benefit a CC team that loves doing all sorts of petrifying, stunning, freezing skills, as well as increasing 4 random allies' control rate. So they're going to have even more of an opportunity to CC those enemies, making him fantastic for allying with Valera, Amelia, Psychic even. You're just going to get a big chance to get those CCs off, but at the moment, do stay considerate of how our meta is shaping up. CC is not really a threat in the endgame PvP, but in mid, early, it is considerable and is very beneficial actually. So do consider Serpent if it fits your team build, although with Nephilims and Vivians out there, not really recommended. But let's move on here. The attack is pretty high on this Servant, almost 1700. Spiritual Beacon will increase holy damage. Well, it's good damage boosts. And over here, crit damage by 25%. I would ideally like crit chance. That's why we go to Robert. But over here, I think Uriel would love having Sea Serpent, if at all. Increasing the chance for the Seals of Blindness and having crit damage, holy damage boosts. Overall, over here, Serpent ends up being a bit mediocre though, because you really need to put him on a team that loves to crowd control their opponents. So defense, because there's not really much boosts here, is 1. The offensive ability I have here too. It doesn't really do much damage to the enemies, but utility and CC are going to be pretty high scores that I'm giving Serpent here. CC being incredible for how it's able to manipulate it, and utility because it does give still good stats. Crit damage and holy damage are very nice, as well as the control rate and control debuffs on the enemies, and no healing, so 0. The score here for Serpent ends up being a 12. Solid pet all around, but needs planning. Alright, down here we're gonna move on to our boy Void. Mystic Blast for the active skill against 4 random enemies. Has a chance to silence them for 40% for 2 rounds. Silence is that CC skill that does not allow them to perform their active skills, which is pretty good actually, and increases 4 random allies' energy by 62. So, on paper, this sounds incredible. Being able to boost up the energy, your girls being able to do their active skills. But we do realize that these servants aren't able to deploy until after round 2-ish. So, while the skill does look incredible, it's a bit slow, and PvP being quite fast does not allow us to take advantage of this ability as much as we would like. So you'll be deploying him, you'll see you coming too late, the battle's almost over at that point. It's not very good. But with these Ulticore systems, this has changed, and we'll be getting to that here shortly. Looking at his aura abilities, Light Saber has decent attack, good healing for HP on the team. Here he will increase skill damage, which unfortunately is one of the weakest attributes. Skill damage doesn't really increase overall damage by much. I mean, it is handy, sure, but he will kind of like an aggressive team to be able to use that skill damage. Moving on over here, precision by 15% is welcomed, especially if you're utilizing Joan on your team or facing a lot of Fenrir's. This very nice. And just a speed by 60, but mainly what we want him for is that energy, but we want to get to those Ulticore systems here shortly. Overall, at the moment, and remember guys, these scores here are not including Ulticore just yet. They are in that last box, which we'll get to shortly. You can just slide for now. Void has 1 for defense. It doesn't really help much. He does have that silence though. Offense, he doesn't do much damage on his own, or help increase our team's damage by much, but the utility, I'm giving him 5 for that energy boost and the precision and the skill damage. It plays into there, but the energy boost there is going to play a huge part in Void. CC, silence is okay. It still lets our opponent attack with their basics, but I mean, it's still CC and no healing. This is going to bring Void up to an 11, making him a solid pet, but just not someone we were looking for in endgame up until this point. So let us move on. Kraken. Deep Sea Whirlpool. Check it out. Against 4 random enemies, reducing their armor by 37% and their speed by 37. This is quite solid, especially in the speed meta. This ends up catching a lot of people by surprise. But again, similar to Void, Kraken suffers from having to, at the latest, be able to use their active skill at the end of round 2 or round 3 for the most part. So the speed didn't really play a large part, again, because matches were usually already decided in the first 2 to 3 rounds. So we also have the chance here to grant 4 random allies 25% extra attack. This is a big boost, especially for anyone still running Esau and Jacobs, or girls that love attack boosts. Looking at those new generation Iron Fist players, this 25% extra attack boost is thick. All right, moving over here. HP and attack is looking okay. Holy damage by 25%. This is fantastic. Esau and Jacob players rejoice. Over here, precision by 15%. Esau and Jacob players rejoice. And then, you know, the standard speed. With Ulticore system, Kraken is going to be cracked. Let's just put that there. I'm getting very excited for that new upgrade, but just hold on. We're going to get to there soon, shortly. Over here next, before I get to the next servant, actually, let's score Kraken. At the moment, defense is not very good. He's a bit of an aggressive, as this score here displays. We're having a 4 for his offensive score. Utility with that precision and holy damage, as well as the attack boost. Fantastic, giving him a 4. No CC skills, so it's gonna be 0, and no healing. You're gonna see here why Kraken wasn't really used at all. His score was 8-9. But Ulticore is hopefully gonna change that. All right, Elixir. Medical Waste is his active skill, and against 4 random enemies will do poison damage for each round for 3 rounds, and grant 4 allies 80% extra damage against those poisoned targets. Now, I believe he's going to play nicely with Crystal, as well as maybe a Maya in early mid game. Just being able to increase the damage that all your girls do against those poisoned enemies. But even if other team members are not targeted by him, it's still going to do damage on them if they're poisoned. So it's similar to Hunter, but just increasing their damage. But let's look at the aura and see here how he does. Now this is very solid, almost 1700 attack. Increases the team by. And over here, skill damage. That's not what I wanted to see. 25%, still the weakest attribute. And block rate, 20%. This is awkward. And over here, speed by 60. Elixir, unfortunately, does not scale very well. His score here is going to relate that defensively. He's trying to be an offensive servant. You can respect that, but offensively, you know, it's pretty good. I don't like the skill damage, giving him a 4. Utility, block rate, and skill damage. These are awkward skills to be bringing to a team. I don't know how this fits in on most compositions. Damage over time. Nah, we just gave him here a 2. It's not very. It doesn't synergize well. CC, he has none, and healing, he has none. Oh, poor Elixir. Coming in, rounding out the bottom. Please, I'm just gonna say this: don't build Elixir as your first servant. He does seem quite good on paper at first, but just don't do it. Flora is next. This pet is quite wonderful. I kept them in their cute formations because, you know, still gotta level them up. That's how you're gonna see them. Nature's Grasp against 4 enemies will reduce their attack, will reduce their crit, and will reduce their crit damage for 2 rounds. And that's being by 30%, my bad. And remove 1 debuff from 4 random allies. This is pretty good, actually, and plays very nicely with tanky teams. Ideally, I would have loved to have seen some healing here. That would have probably taken her a step up from Deerling, but a lot of teams are, you know, kind of using the mirror and not really deploying a lot of girls that use crit and crit damage. She's gonna mess with Rogue. She's gonna quite mess with Esau and Jacob as well, but specifically Rogue here, because, you know, Rogue likes to crit and drop some massive crit damage. But the debuff removal is quite nice. You'll find Flora to be pretty useful in some PvE modes where the boss can hit pretty hard. Making him hit a lot less hard is pretty good, and removing some of their debuffs or statuses from your team is nice. So over here, the attack is okay. The HP is quite nice over here too. Increases armor by 25%, making your team extra tanky. and the block rate by 20%, helping your Fenrir, if they'll, you know, for example, get a better chance to increase their own abilities or do damage to the enemy. And then the speed by 60, of course. Flora is not very offensive. She loves to tank up your team and debuff the enemies. But this is just a nice little opportunity to throw more statuses on that team to, you know, have them confuse their baptism or purify, or even Vivian's totem in this case, or I mean active skill, I guess. Have them change that up. Well, their Vivian's totem here. I'll just correct that now. Flora's overall score here defensively is fantastic. It's a 5, but offensively still 1. She does some damage, sure. At the minimum. Utility, all right, we're gonna give her a 5 again because debuffing the enemy, increasing our tankiness, our block, our armor, all good stuff. Removing debuffs, again, I can't emphasize that enough. That is the best reason to build her, but don't know if it's the correct reason to build her. Her score, unfortunately, because of CC and healing being very low, is just 11. Oof. Making her okay, but not someone to really rush to. And then finally, our new boy hitting the town here, Golem, Mountainous Crumble. Against 4 enemies will do a lot of damage, and this attack has a 36% chance to petrify those targets for 2 rounds. This is very nice. Petrify does not allow them to attack or at all, and essentially turns them to stone. So our stoner boy here also creates a shield that can absorb a certain amount of damage, and this does scale, I believe, with the auras, or not the auras. I think just leveling him up even further, I guess. Well, that's how it gets to this point, sure. 4 random allies for 3 rounds. This is gonna stop some basic attacks, but let's be real here. Active skills have been reaching the millions. This is not much of a defense. So while Stoner Boy here, Golem, is quite nice, he's been hyped, he looks great. This active skill, I can't really vouch for that as the first servant. Not even maybe as the second or third. We need to see some testing, really see how this shield works. If it stops a whole attack, sure, maybe. But if it just stops a portion of the attack and allows the damage to carry over, we're gonna be in trouble. Raph will increase attack and HP by a good amount. He's giving 25% armor. Now we have a couple other servants here to do that. A little awkward for Golem. And then over here, Indomitable will increase crit resistance by 15%. We have a block for that. We have a potential in L5 for this. I guess he can ruin Rogue's day, but this is awkward. And then the speed by 60. Good amount of attack, good amount of HP. Guys, I mean, I may have spoiled this already, but the scores are here that I gave him. 4 for defense. I mean, crit resistance is nice. Armor is nice. Giving that shield is nice. Offensive ability, unfortunately, is very poor. Utility, again, it kind of overlaps with offense and defense. Give him 3. CC, though, you know, that's some hot stuff. 36% chance to petrify. 4 enemies. Take that. Healing, none. So his score ends up being a 12, again putting them in those mediocre servants range. I can't really recommend that you build him. If you want to do this event that's currently going on, the servant supply and servant scoring, willing to lose some of that gold, because I mean, you might reverse them eventually. Go ahead and level them up, get those rewards, but you gotta have to think about that. I'm gonna have to think about that real hard. Alright, so the part that has had me excited is actually going to be, let's click on that. This Ulticore Servant Aura system here. We're able to increase the auras up to level 100. And it seems though that we do have to take these up like per 25. Yeah, no servant crystals, but these upgrades in the auras are absolutely incredible on the servant. I highly advise that you read them for yourself, know what you want to aim for, because at the moment these cores or servant crystals, they're very hard to get. There's not many ways at all. We really need to hope that these events, I don't mean packs, that the events give us access to these cores or these crystals. Right now you can exchange books, you can open chests, and you can just simply log into your patrol and earn some of these crystals. But let's look here at Deerling, for example. Level 20, the HP and attack will be increased by 10%. This actually turned out to be incredible because it's not a flat increase. It simply increases the attack overall, which is then added by modifiers. So as some people in the main Discord have discovered, Vivians can have 16 million HP, Mios can potentially reach over 20 mil, and just be absolutely bonkers. This HP increase, I don't know if it's intended this way, is looking to be incredible. Level 40 though is what fixes a lot of issues with our servants, having 50 energy at the start of battles. So as long as some of your characters, I believe it's 3, have energies and are able to deploy their active skills, you already have a Pate for one. I'm just gonna say that your servant's gonna be able to go at the end of round 1. We looked at Kraken and Void, which replenishes our energy, and Kraken just increases our attack by a lot. Imagine having that going into round 2, where again more actives are going to be used. This is incredible. Vivian being able to redeploy Totem, Apate being able to redeploy the Resonance Marks, Kraken on an Esau and Jacob team being able to just increase their attack by 25%. This is incredible. This opens up the door for Void and Kraken, hence why I have yes and yes over here for Ulticore upgrades. Serpent with CC teams, which may come in the future, has a pretty good outlook. But Deerling, hence why we're here, Deerling, moving forward, after Servant triggers the active skill, 18% HP is restored on an ally with the lowest HP. This is very similar to Vivian's ability, where she restores 25% of an ally. But restoring 18% of maximum HP, especially in this tanky meta, is a huge chunk. I cannot stress that enough. This is going to be very nice. Level 80, when after the servant triggers its active skill, grants an ally who received additional healing from the effect of the Ulticore 35% damage depletion. Just making that character that was suffering, may have been taking a hit, more tanky, healing them up and giving them damage depletion to get themselves back into the game. This is going to be nice, especially on Vivian's, Nephilums, or the one damage dealer on your team. But again, seeing as how long these crystals are going to take us to accumulate, at the moment it's like, what, 20 months? Don't know what to say. It's going to be a while, but we get to this point, we'll see. And then level 100 is quite nice for anyone who is at the end game and reaches this point first. You're going to have a massive advantage, 60 plus additional speed for the entire team. Having a built-in excursion in here, this almost looks like Soulbound 3.0. Some of y'all might get the reference. So I just wanted to go through some of the servants here that I picked as yes. Over here, Void, let's click on that. Going to the Ulticore. Over here, all servants will have a similar level 10, level 20, but over here he increases skill damage, which again is a weak attribute. But the 50 energy is going to really help. Increases the rate for silence, so I mean, Amazon? Maybe. But over here, level 80, when the servant triggers his active skill, 30% chance to disable 2 random enemies from performing basic attacks. So overall, I guess here he's just going to increase the chances of just completing a full CC, silencing, and also essentially terrorizing enemies. But ideally, what we want him here for is this 50 energy, and then being also able to increase allies' energy by that max amount that we showed over here, 62 points. But that's at 180. maybe a little misleading overall. This is the 180, but I do have a massive disclaimer at the end of this video. Kraken as well, at the 180 level. I always click this. Servant Aura, Ulticore. He will gain the 50 energy, increase the speed of the girl with the highest attack. So this also helps when we get some more damage dealing girls, being able to just outrun everybody. 200 speed. This is incredible. Who designed this? Level 80. When the servant triggers her active skill, it also allows the girls who receive extra attack bonus from the skill. That's the 4 girls to get the 25%. Ignore damage reduction. Esau and Jacob players rejoice. Again, this almost solves an Asylum issue. You know how she's very tanky. And just being able to blow them up, you know, get that snowball going. On top of the 35% extra attack, you know, just ignoring damage reduction completely. Yes, please. I will take this, and this is why he has a yes. These servants might be quite great as future outlooks. Unfortunately, they weren't really in the meta just because we're very focused on tankiness, but they are now very nice contenders. And then honorable mention here, Kraken, not Kraken, Serpent, excuse me, will increase attack HP, the 50 energy. When the servant triggers its active skill, has a 30% chance to extend control effect by 1 round. It's kind of nice, but it can get purified. And then when he also triggers his active skill, provides 30% attack and 30% crit to the girls that receive the extra control rate, which I believe was on 2 girls. Oh, 4 random allies. Okay, this is good. I like it. We're gonna increase our CC girls by a lot, especially Kratos. I can think of right now. Maybe Sherlock in the future. Come back to this video and really talk about how Servant can help Sherlock if that does end up happening. But he gets an honorable mention here for Serpent in the future. But right now, the best pet to build for endgame teams is still Deerling. Hunter is fantastic for carrying you in the early game. But my disclaimer now that I really wanted to get to here right now, I'm hitting the mic, is it is not actually worth to take your servant up to level 180. Just gonna put that out there. While you do get these nice sweet little bonuses compared to what they're at right now at level 130-ish, for example, by increasing the HP by 20% over here. Also doing it, but attack by 15. What am I doing? Armor by 37%, 31, 37. Yeah, see, is it really worth spending all that gold? It's like $500 million gold, 500 million gold, and a ton of cookies. So the only real difference I saw between my 130 deer, which I did a little bit, you know, because I was curious. 37%. Over here, the only real thing that's changing is at 31%. I'm gonna add 31% to their armor for all that gold. No. Over here, this is already gonna cost you a hefty amount of gold, so save your gold for the Ulticores. Just hang on. I know it's tempting. You want to have that servant maxed out. You're gonna end up potentially regretting it and end up reversing the pet, especially if you feel that that's not the pet you wanted. Remember, when you reverse a servant, you do not get the gold back at all. 0%. Nada. So consider that a investment of your gold that you'll never see again. You do get the yellow and blue cookies back though, and that's kind of nice. So for anyone who had an entire collection of max pets, you might want to reverse 1 or 2 of them just to make sure that you have enough cookies. Right now, the blue cookies will be the most important. And then also for this event over here, these are not quite worth it, as I covered in my event review video. 2,000 times 2 here for just a very limited amount of pet food. I don't know, I'd kind of just rather wait. And then, quite fantastically, as I was upgrading my pet earlier, this pack exists. I highly advise against it. I mean, you'll instantly use all of these resources. I do not think this is a good pack to buy. So that's my entire opinion on these packs here. They're not good at all. Let's go back to Servant. So this is my overall review of all of the servants in the game. Deerling winning first place, Hunter being great for starting players, Robert being the best for PvE, and then you have your Serpent, Void, and Kraken that are, you know, bringing up the lineup as potential future standouts. These guys are going to shine. So, of course, I want to hear stories about how your servants are performing for your team. Who is your favorite servant, actually? These guys do have background stories, if you can relate to any of them. Oh, this one, Deerling does not? Wow. Alright, but Serpent does. Okay. If you have some more stories, you've seen your servant just carry your team, some varsity battles, your servant just completely dominates the enemy team. These are quite fun stories. I'm always excited to hear about it. Please leave a comment down below, and I'll be sure to get to them as soon as possible. Of course, I thank you all for dropping by. We do have breakdowns and reviews in the Discord server below. Transcension, I recommend you guys check it out. The admin for that group does a fantastic job of keeping those guides set up for you. So of course, like, subscribe, comment. I'm looking forward to the next video, potentially streaming soon as well. It's gonna be a very busy weekend, and I'm looking forward to it a lot. Everyone, happy gaming.